Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Tuesday, September 19th, following the MVP Open. If you're joining us on YouTube, you will see that I've decimated my background. Josh, it is now just me looking like I'm in a jail cell or something.
You're moving, though.
I am moving. Yes. Tomorrow is my move date. And so I'm not moving far. I'm just going about 2 blocks down my street, moving from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 2-bedroom apartment. A nice upgrade. I've been in the same place for 8 years. Wow. So that's how much I hate moving, Josh.
I think moving in New York has to just be a whole other ball game. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
It sucks. Normally, I would move on the weekend, at the end of the month. That's what you typically do, You get to the 31st or whatever, and that's the day. Everybody moves. But my new building doesn't allow you to move on weekends. And you have to move in between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on a weekday. Strict limitations on the timing. And you have to have a licensed and insured moving company do it. So I can't have my friends just come over and help me move. For what it's worth, I would never have asked that of them to move in the middle of a workday anyway. So I'm getting movers for the first time, which, while expensive, is
probably so
really nice.
Yeah, I can't do
I'm like anticipating that I might even be able to like do some work because I don't have to actually move the stuff. We'll see. Anyway, it's I think it's time for me to share some personal news. My wife Liz is 7 months pregnant, and she is due in middle of November, and so we're moving to a 2-bedroom to prepare for that new addition to the family. So this is my first kid. I'm very excited, and it's a big life change, Josh. That's for sure.
I believe it. Congratulations, Charlie.
Thank you. Obviously, Josh already knows, but
sorry, guys.
I'm not breaking the news to Josh on the pod here.
Should I have pretended to be shocked? Like,
oh my god!
Oh, no way!
It's like when Jerm and Nate and Yuli had to be like, "Whoa, the holy shot!" That was like the world's worst acting.
This is what dreams are made of. That line lives rent-free in my head, man.
Oh, man.
Well, congratulations, Charlie.
Thank you, Josh.
And Liz.
Thank you. Anyway, exciting times. I shouldn't affect the show too much. I mean, I'm going to have weird backgrounds for a while and whatnot, but most of you listen on the podcast apps anyway, so what does it matter as long as I have my microphone? Anyway, let's talk some MVP Open. What a weekend. This was an awesome tournament. People, there was a little bit of like course backlash starting to crop up a little bit before this tournament. Brody and Ezra kind of complaining about the course. It's not what it's not all it's cracked up to be. No, it is all that it's cracked up to be. I hear some complaints about the tee pads. Maybe they need to think about getting some new tee pads in there, too slippery or something. But look, this is just one of the most fun courses to watch. It's totally tolerable for 4 rounds, and we got awesome tournaments. And like, it wasn't even an exciting finish really in MPO because of how it went down. Matt Oram comes off the chase card, becomes the 4th chase card winner of the year. That's a record. And does it with just an unconscious back 9 performance. 7 straight birdies in the back 9 to just put the thing away. And the lead card had to play like 6 holes with him in the clubhouse knowing he'd won. It very unusual to see that. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, actually, Josh.
Right. And it's really interesting for 2 reasons. Number one, it felt like the main pressure was not going to be on lead card. It was going to be Aaron Gossage. But Aaron Gossage then goes from holes 13 to hole 16, par, bogey. And then that was game over for Aaron Gossage. He was too far out of it. And so Aaron Gossage is out, and you're like, well, Eagle needs an eagle and to birdie out. And that was on hole 15, I think. So at hole 15, When he pars 14, it goes, oh, okay, now he needs an eagle, and he has to get birdies the rest of the way. Matteo taps in. They're celebrating. They're taking pictures. Like the cameras are on Matteo. And then Terry Miller comes on and says, we just got word. Eagle McMahon, bogeys 15. It's
sayonara.
And Simon did as well. So both of them bogey on 15. And at that point, it was just completely unreachable. And it was like, well, we're going to sit and watch for a couple more holes while Matteo enjoys his known victory.
But just, man, I just want to back up. And before we even talk about the specifics, and look, Matt Oram has been here so many times. It's been more than 20 years since he played in his first Elite Series event. In June of 2003, he played a national tour event in the first year of the national tour. Mm-hmm. And now here he is finally getting his first Elite Series win. And he came close many times. He's had lots of top fives, top threes, second place finishes. In fact, back in 2010, the first time he played at Maple Hill, he could have won. He talked about this in his post-round interview, but he blew it on the final hole. And so sweet redemption for Matt Oram, not only at Maple Hill, but for his entire career, to finally get one, and to get one of the most prestigious tournaments that you can win that isn't a major. It just has to feel so amazing for somebody who's just, been a lifelong disc golf, just dyed in the wool, lives and breathes disc golf every day. And he is, he's a local grinder, regional pro. Eventually there's enough money on it to go full-time on tour. An incredible personality. Everybody's so happy to see him win. Simon Lizotte says it, even though I'm not winning, it's certainly a silver lining to have Matty O win it. Because it just, this guy, he just deserved to win one. He has been so good for so long. He's been a top 10 rated player in the world for many years. And he could just never close it out. He could never close it out, Josh. Every time he was close, he would melt down the stretch in the final round. And for the first time, he didn't do that. He got into that zone. And you hear it from almost everybody who wins is like, yeah, I just got into this zone and I just, flurry of birdies where I couldn't miss. And that's what happened for Oram. He could have gotten another birdie on 18 if he wanted to play for it, but he obviously played smart.
I had no reason to. Well, and you highlight such a good point here. There have been times that Matteo just got beat, where he had a good tournament, ended up losing, but so many times it felt like Matteo is either coming in contention and just going ice cold in the final round, or being too far back and then shooting a great round and sliding up and having good finishes, but not really being in contention. There are people who lose heartbreakers multiple times, and you see those people and they lose just on just getting outplayed. But it felt like Matteo always beat himself a little bit, and so it's the first time that he really takes command of a tournament. Lead card, chase card, doesn't matter. Nobody could touch Matteo. He wins by 4 strokes, which in this day and age is a huge margin of victory over on the MPO side. And like you said, really could have been 5 strokes if he really wanted it. And just an amazing weekend for Matteo. One of the stats that you said, Charlie, in the Rapid Reacts that really stuck out to me, Matteo now becomes obviously the most recent winner of that original, of someone who participated in that original NT event. The last Elite Series winner you had from that original NT event was Nate Doss back in 2017.
Yeah.
That stat is just crazy to me.
Well, he said it, he's like, nobody remembers here that I could have won in 2010 except Steve Dodge and Greg Barsby. And that was 2010. Mm-hmm. He played that first NT in 2003.
Yeah.
He must have been a young buck. I don't know how old Matteo is. I can look it up. Let's find out how old was he. Yeah, go ahead.
I find it very funny that he didn't include Nico on that list, who beat him and was in the field.
I wonder if there's no love there. Let's see. Matt Oram is 36. So in 2003, he was 16 years old. playing at the national tour. Amazing. How about how this even got going, right? Who knows what would have happened? It's impossible to know. But he starts his birdie streak on hole 11. He's pinched off behind one of the Christmas trees, and he throws a crazy roller that gets him just to the edge of circle 2, and then he buries the birdie putt from there. And so that was how he kicked off that 7 birdie stretch. The Alabama touchdown, as we dubbed it in the in the Rapid Reacts, with 7 straight. He might have more touchdowns than actual Alabama this season. They stink. That
felt so unnecessarily
I'm sorry.
aggressive.
I also
especially
don't after
like
Matty O won. Why am I taking shots?
Right? Like,
I don't know.
I don't like Alabama.
Balance in all things. I think they're still obviously really good. They're just not like number 1 in the country.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very, very fun stuff though. Roll Tide, the whole deal. Matty O, absolute legend. And look, there's a lot of ways this tournament could have ended up. The way how tight things were going into the final round. And sometimes it just comes down to who shows up and has a great day. And that seems to be the case at Maple Hill a lot of the time. It's not usually, there's not a lot of clarity going into the final round in most cases. And it's just like who shows up and shreds. I think I saw a stat somewhere that like the leader going into the final round hasn't won in like years.
It's Ricky in 2019 was the last winner who was the leader to go into a final round.
There you go. I mean, I think that just speaks to the challenge of the course and how touchy a lot of the shots can be.
Yeah.
And like it was just Matty O's day, and it frankly, this was long overdue.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should have already been here, given the level of skill that he has and the number of times he'd put himself in the conversation to win. And so congrats to him to do it in his mid-30s, almost bordering on late 30s. He may never win again, Josh, but it doesn't even matter. Like he cements an awesome career.
There was a spectator who had the sign that said, the man, the myth, the legend. And it feels right. It feels right for Matty O.
Over on the FPO side, Haley King gets the win after a wild final round. Yeah. Everybody had a chance. Tatar was in front. Scoggins was right there. Haley takes over the lead late and then hangs on. Awesome approach shot on 18 under pressure with everybody else looking at a birdie. And Haley King playing the boring golf this weekend, to quote her. Going for par, letting other people make mistakes, not trying to do too much. And look at this, Josh, she wins. When we watch really talented players stop trying to be heroes, they start winning more. Even though Haley didn't seem like she necessarily enjoyed playing that way very much.
Well, when she gets that $13,000 PayPal, winnings, I think that'll might change her tune a little bit. help bump that up. No, you're absolutely right. Well, and here's the stat to me that's the most remarkable. Kristen Tatar shoots 1,000 rated golf. Yes, she lost the tournament. Yes, she lost it because of a bad hole 17, and we can talk more about that in a second. But the standard now is that 1,000 rated mark is very quickly becoming the bare minimum of what it's going to take if you want to win these tournaments.
Yep.
And that's what Haley did. You should come in and you should say, what's it going to take to shoot over 1,000 rated? That was Haley's game plan, and it was done with 12 pars in the final round, and that's all it takes. So shout out to Haley King. She played amazing, and that is a big win for her, and I know is one that, I mean, Haley is ultra talented. She is such a talented disc golfer, and so it's no surprise to me that we see her show up and shoot tournaments like this.
Well, it's interesting, the consistency isn't always there from Haley, but she joins just 3 other players to have multiple wins since 2020, when Kristen Tatar started, kind of rose back to the level that, we started to see glimpses of in 2019 when she won U.S. Women's, but then she became this dominant force. Obviously, she has won many, many times in those 4 seasons. But the only other players to win multiple events besides Tatar, Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, Missy Gannon, and now Haley King. Haley, I think specifically this means multiple events within the same season, just to be clear, because like Valerie Mondahano has won multiple.
Sure.
But like to win more than once in a season, that's the list since 2020.
Short list.
This is Haley's second multi-win season. She did it in 2021. Last year, she only won U.S. Women's. She will defend her title starting on Thursday with this year's U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championships, the last major of the season for FPO, last official major, I should put. And look, let's talk about what happened to Tatar, because I think it's going to be... Everybody had opportunities this weekend, and Tatar was right there. She had a, I think it was a 3-stroke lead after hole 14 when she birdied, and King just took par. And then it was 2 strokes after 15. Tatar parred, King birdied. Then Tatar bogeys on 16 after she gets caught up on the rough and tries to putt through it and just like goes 10 feet. It was terrible. Terrible mistake. And then on 17, she has maybe a 25-foot putt, Josh. Wasn't super long putt on the elevated basket and essentially airballs it. She tickled the furthest right chain by the slightest of margins, almost like the wind just blew by the chain. So she totally blows by. It goes down, takes a roll down the hill, brutal circle 2 uphill putt to the elevated basket, doesn't make it, and then ends up 3-putting, loses the lead, loses the tournament. It was very reminiscent, Josh, of how she lost at the Champions Cup last year to Paige Pierce on 18, where she had a circle 1 putt that if she makes it, she pretty much wins. And if she misses it close, she probably at least goes to a playoff. And instead, she airballs it. It takes a roll. She misses the comebacker, 3-putt, and it's game over. Now, I know this was 17 and not 18, but man, did it feel similar.
On the broadcast, Terry says, "Oh no, Kristen's got a roll away." And I think that that's a poor contextualization of what happened on that putt. When Kristen goes up and steps up to that circle 1 putt, remember, her putting that day, especially from circle 1, had been okay. She had a couple big circle 2 makes earlier on, but hadn't made a circle 2 putt. She'd missed 5 in a row prior to this hole. She missed 6 in a row. So she'd missed 6 circle 2 putts in a row and a handful of circle 1 putts. And all of those misses were right side, or almost all of them. You had like the one that bounced out.
Just to note, and this maybe a little quick mulligan, she hadn't missed the circle 1 putt.
Oh, she hadn't missed circle.
No, she was perfect in circle 1, but she was cold from circle 2, all the way up to 17. Yes.
Okay, and the miss almost every time, except like I mentioned, the one really was like right side, and it was oftentimes like an air ball right side. It looked like the putt just had a little too much on it. It never got the fade that it needed to go down into the basket, and so she just airballs on right side.
And keep in mind. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
When she's on, her putts are not hyzering in. She's throwing dead straight bullets from the straddle into the center.
Right. So it's kind of odd already that she's doing these weird, like that she's missing right. Right. It's not what you would expect on her miss, really. But anyway, so she steps up, and if you are Kristen Tatar, the one thing you have to say to yourself, you have to be looking at this elevated basket with the downhill slope behind it, and you have to say to yourself, I can miss anywhere but airball. Like I can hit.
It's
I
true.
can hit the band. I can hit the. Heck,
you can miss low. She usually misses low.
That's right. If that's the miss, that's fine, because like you said, she taps in. they both par 18, you go to a playoff. Or at least like you live to fight on 18, and it's not, I have to have Haley make a mistake. The one thing you have to say to yourself is you cannot airball this right, because it is going to go down the hill if you do. And that's what she does. And so to call it a rollaway makes it sound like, oh, she took this very unfortunate break. Kristen Tatar made the worst miss she possibly could. Because even if you go left, there are some trees that hopefully stop it a little bit shorter. And it's like
up the slope.
Yeah. It's because...
You know, Josh, I got to be honest. I think she probably told herself all those things and then still yanked it right.
Probably.
Like, it's not like she didn't know. I think it almost like knowing that you can't miss it there sometimes makes you miss it there.
And that's true. But don't call it a rollaway.
Yeah,
don't call it a mistake. Yeah. Or like just like a fluky thing.
Yeah,
that
it was the expected outcome of that miss.
Exactly. It was the critical error you couldn't make, and
sure.
She lost the tournament on that putt.
Owen Scoggins was killing it, and then she 4-putted on 11, and that basically wiped her out. I mean, she birdied 4 of the last 5 holes and got herself back up into a tie for second. But I mean, Josh, who knows? It's crazy. You never see that from Owen.
Crazy. Oh man, she lost by 1 stroke with a triple bogey on her scorecard.
Yep.
And that just
says it all. That's what I'm saying. Everybody had a chance.
Yeah, they did. It's a fun round to watch.
I mean, even Evelina, who ultimately finished 4 shots back, like there were chances out there. Yeah. She wasn't giving herself enough birdie looks. I mean, normally it's the putter for Evelina, but honestly, she putted awesome this weekend. I'm going to look at her stat. What were her final stats on the putting green? 3 strokes gained putting, 4 strokes gained C1X, 78%.
Take a screenshot, folks.
I mean, I'm telling you, Josh, she's got it in her.
She does.
Do not be surprised if she wins one of these tournaments late this season.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and the biggest thing, I remember it was on hole 8. And I don't remember which round it was, but on hole 8, Evelina had like a 20-footer. It wasn't that long. But the way she putted, the form, her legs were involved. She got her whole body involved. It just looked like a different putt. And I know that's true of the entire weekend. I think it was that camera angle on that hole that really like let me see that. But she just, when she putts and really like putts properly, she has the chance to be one of the most dangerous players on.
We know this.
And we know this. We say it.
It's there. This. It's right there.
Right.
Kristen Tatar.
Oh, sorry. I want to highlight one more thing.
Sure.
Real fast. Holly Finley shoots a final round with 1 bogey and 17 pars.
Wow.
It was a remarkable round.
And I think that was good enough to move her into the Pro Tour Championship, was it not?
That is correct.
She moves up 5 spots into 16th, and she's in. At the cut line, it was pretty much, JK fell to 19th, but with Paige probably not playing, I would say 99% not playing at the Tour Championship, Juliana Korver will be able to participate. Hannah Blomroos is first out. She moved up 6 spots this weekend into 20th, but just skipped too many tournaments in the middle of the season in order to not get in. But congrats to Holly Finley, who had to play well and did in order to qualify.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet. Kristen Tatar wins the FPO points standings for the season, of course. And so congratulations to Kristen. Missy Gannon in second. We'll break down all of the tour standing stuff in a segment in a little bit. I just wanted to note one thing about the stats real quick. Tatar, 36% birdie percentage this weekend. King, 28% birdie percentage this weekend.
Wow.
Really the difference was putting. Tatar's circle and putting has just been a little shaky. I mean, it's just that simple. She was at 76% this weekend. It's not terrible, but it's below her standard, and it cost her strokes at multiple points throughout the weekend. And she just took too many bogeys. Haley avoided the bogeys. She did exactly what she was trying to do. She had about a 10% bogey or worse rate, and Tatar had about a 25% bogey or worse rate.
That's the difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
You're spot on. There's one thing I wanted to highlight that we took a little bit of time to look at, because on the rapid reacts, and this is actually a sentiment that I expressed last season as well. This is another tournament where it feels like Kristen lost it close. And it's interesting because when you actually think really hard about it, it's harder to find those examples, because most times when Kristen's winning, she's blowing everybody out of the water. And so
there are few opportunities for Kristen to even have to make pressure putts late in rounds.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she wins tournaments by margins that are pushing record breaking. Like that's how good she's been over the past 2 seasons. So Charlie, we took the time to go back and look at all of her close wins and close losses. And it was an interesting data. I don't think it was quite what we thought it was going to be.
Well, so in the close wins department, she won PCS Open this year by a stroke, and over Missy, and ultimately I think Missy got caught up in the tree on 18, so it wasn't that much pressure. But I mean, Tatar still had to execute down the stretch to win the tournament, and she did. She came from behind at Waco. She chased down Ella Hansen, hit some clutch putts late.
Yes.
And then at DDO last year, came from behind to beat Katrina. Losses wise, she lost MVP this year to Haley. She lost MVP last year in a playoff against Natalie Ryan. And then, of course, we had the Champions Cup debacle on 18, where she lost to Paige. That's kind of the list over the last 2 seasons. And what I think is interesting, Josh, is that there's been few situations where she had to protect a lead. Mm-hmm. Pretty much just PCS, where she protected a lead that was really close. She's had 4 or 5-stroke leads that she's had to protect. But when the pressure's really been on, there hasn't been that many spots where she has to do it. And in a couple of those situations, she has faltered. But it's hard to look at this and say there's any meaningful trend. It's just that sometimes it breaks her way and sometimes it doesn't. But maybe you could argue that when the pressure is on and she's in the lead, she struggles to close it out with tough putts. Maybe
it's hard. The half and half. But here's what I will say. While I don't know if we're quite willing to write that narrative, for somebody of Kristen's caliber, you would expect if there were 6 wins or 6 tournaments that were within a stroke, that someone with Kristen's abilities would have been closer. Like there would have been more in the wins column, right? That is one thing that I think is a fair question, and is, would somebody who is this dominant, should they be winning more than just 50% of the time when it stays within a stroke late in the game?
I think it's just easy. It's easy to remember. Like you think of this MVP final couple holes, right? 17. Then it evokes Champions Cup, and you're like, she crumbles on the green, But like, really, that has only happened a couple times. Mm-hmm. That's like the list over the last 2 seasons.
Remember.
And it's just easy to remember. So you kind of you want to extend the narrative, but I'm not sure that there necessarily is one there.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I want to bounce back into something really quick as we go back over to MPO. Obviously, Matty O, the big story this weekend, Aaron Gossage. I got to give Aaron credit for one thing. The putter didn't collapse on him to cause him to lose.
That's true.
Like, that's been the problem for him, and it didn't happen this weekend. Eagle seemed like he had a great chance to win, but he had 2 double bogeys in the final round. Very painful. Eagle now has not won an Elite Series or a major in 2023. He has one more chance at USDGC, and I mean, you could probably argue the Tour Championship. to close it out. I mean, Tour Championship sort of like lives in its own tier. But what's interesting is that he has a 5-year streak of winning an Elite Series or a major, which is now in jeopardy, even though he's been playing at a high level. He's, top 5 in tour points. You make anything of that, Josh?
Not a ton. Didn't he miss a little bit of time this season still? Or take some time off?
Well, let's take a look. I think he took a couple of tournaments off. He skipped Portland, DDO, Des Moines, and that was it. Oh, then he didn't play Ledgestone either, or Idlewild. He actually skipped a decent amount of tournaments, more than most.
Yeah, and it was kind of a weird. I don't really know why the choices were what they were. Like Idlewild, for example, he's won there before. Ledgestone is an Elite Plus event. I have a hard time making too much of it because, like you said, I mean, he's dropping. He's had a couple bad finishes. Like he took 55th at OTB Open, obviously not good, but he tied for second at Champions Cup. He tied for second at Jonesboro.
He's literally been top 5 at every tournament he's played since the Cascade Challenge.
Yeah, that's
impressive.
It is impressive. It's a great. He had to drop a 4th place at European Open, and so I don't make too much of it. It means Eagle's not playing enough, and if he was playing all of the events, I think he'd have a win.
Seems fair.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got a lot of second places. I mean, to be honest, he hasn't been playing as much as Calvin. And he definitely didn't have as good a start as Calvin. But in the last half of the season, he's been Calvin's equal.
Yeah.
Neither of them has a win in that stretch. And Eagle has been just as good.
Yeah.
But, you got to show up.
You got to show up. I mean, that's the thing is Calvin's done it at every tournament.
Right.
So, Eagle hasn't been there. And I think the part that's remarkable to me is that Eagle has been known as the guy who either takes first or kind of falls out of contention. So this is actually really good progress, if anything. He could not win an Elite Series this year, and I would still maybe even say wow, Eagle had a pretty successful season, and I think there's some real player development happening here that is looking good for his future.
I like his USDGC Sanchez, to be honest. He's been close before. Pick. He's been close before. I also want to shout out Calvin Heimberg, who almost had one of the rounds of the decade. Round 2, the man was absolutely on fire. I mean, it was insane. He starts out with 5 straight birdies from holes 2 through 6. He birdies 8. Then he birdies 10, 11, 12. Then he birdies 14, 15. Okay? So he's sitting at 11 under through 15 holes. He's knocking on the door of Macbeth's record-setting Maple Hill round from a couple years ago. The par is a stroke higher. He could have matched Macbeth's score under par, I think. And his rating, you can't know exactly, but it was going to be around 11:15 to 11:25 range. Electric. Unreal. I mean, I texted you, Josh. I was like, bro, turn on this coverage if you're not watching right now because Calvin is out of his mind. And then he bogeyed 16 and 18, and he let the air out of the balloon, and he didn't even have the solo hot round of the day. And you're like, God damn it, Calvin.
You know what's funny? You texted me during hole 15 when I was at work, and I jump in, and all I see is the bogey par bogey.
My God. I mean, but that was as good as it gets. It was they're showing the lead card who's just duffing, just terrible golf. They're missing every putt. I'm like, stop with this. I just want Calvin Cam broadcast right now and nothing else. And then it just, I don't know. Maybe he realized how good it was, and then his tee shots were a little off, and that was it. Tough. But I mean, it was an awesome still an awesome round. I mean, it sucks to have it finish like that, but it was still like 1087 with the 2 bogeys late.
Right
1084.
Now.
Okay.
Yeah, highest rated round of the tournament.
No, I don't think so. Actually, I believe in the final round.
You're
who
right.
was it?
Gavin
Babcock shot a 1087. There it is. That's why that number.
Well,
was
I thought it was going to be the highest because of the wind and like the weather in round 2.
Oh, sure.
Round 4 was pretty nice weather.
That's what made it all the more special. I mean, he was just unconscious for.
Well, and I guess
2
Aaron
hours.
Gossage deserves the shout out. Aaron Gossage shoots the same round.
He does.
Not quite in the same spectacular fashion, but Aaron Gossage does the 9 under and also shoots a 1084. So,
yep, it was awesome.
Aaron Gossage for Player of the Year. You know.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to tell you about the winners of our World's Betting Contest. We got some stats for you on that as well. We're going to wrap up this Disc Golf Pro Tour season, along with, Pursewatch, Whole 18 reviews, the works. We'll be back.
At Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the U.S., employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality U.S. materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
Welcome back to the Upshot. We had our World's Betting Contest, if you recall. Tons of entrants. Thank you, everybody, for emailing in and getting your bets in. You had $100 fake money to bet on any player's futures to win the tournament. And the person with the highest total winnings would win an Upshot prize pack. And that person was Nathan B., who was the only person to make the maximal optimal bet, which was all $100 on Isaac Robinson. So congratulations to Nathan for the win. Josh, only 6.8% of entrants actually won fake money in our contest.
Fake money. Charlie, after I saw these stats, I want everyone to pay up. Like, send in your $100 to Ultiworld.
Now, for what it's worth, the structure of the contest encourages risk-taking more than maybe you would choose to allocate a budget if you were actually betting money. Correct. But I just thought that was pretty interesting. Of course, all of the winners had to have money on Isaac. I mean, you could have gone all in on Kristen Tatar and won a little bit, but you wouldn't have won the contest. And so people didn't do that. 3 other players had enough money on Isaac to win. Matthew C., James F., Steve T. Winning had 30, 60, and $25 respectively on Isaac Robinson. And at plus 1,000, that was enough to come out ahead. Yep. So along with those folks, ultimately 13.6% of players at least broke even. There were a few people who had $10 bets on Isaac that got them back to even. But overall, not a lot of people saw Isaac Robinson coming.
Nope. It was, and it was reflected, the plus 1,000 odds. Like, shout out to Nathan for going the $100 on Isaac. I mean, that, I think Isaac deserved more respect going into that tournament. Definitely. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but winning Champions Cup and it just felt like it's an amazing bet, and I bet Nathan feels over the world.
There were a lot of people taking some long shot odds. I mean, we had
That's true.
People were picking Cole, Radalin. Yep. I'm sure they felt good after a couple rounds. Anthony Barella. Of course, there were plenty of bets on Calvin and Paul and Eagle, Ricky.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the spread of the betting reflected the level of uncertainty about that tournament and kind of the wide open feel that the tournament had. And I think that was also reflected in the results of the event.
Yeah.
Like, I know that Isaac ultimately won comfortably, but he was not the obvious player that was going to win this thing through 2 rounds. Through even 3 rounds.
He was forked, man.
Josh put a fork in him. He's done. Stick a fork in him. And then he won the tournament.
I think I was trying to remember what the numbers were, but he shot like, I think his combined score for the last 2 rounds of Fox Ridge were like
Fox Ridge. You pretend to be a fan.
Fox Run.
Fake fan.
Fox
Fox
that
Ridge.
last 2 rounds at Fox Run were like 8 times his combined score from his previous 2 Fox Run rounds. It was.
There you go. Amazing. Disc Golf Pro Tour season is officially done until the Pro Tour Championship after USDGC middle of October. And we don't know the payout yet. I'm sure it's going to be large. I'm guessing 50K winner payouts this year.
Ooh.
What were they this past season? 35?
I think it was 35. I think that's too high.
Too high?
Yeah.
All right.
Because even
All right.
if that's all that you did, if that's all, the only change, I think they expanded the FPO field this year.
Over under, Josh. $44,999.
Coward.
I'm giving you the
taking,
I'm giving you the option to get a little extra juice on the top side if you want it.
I'll still take the under.
Exactly. That's why I set the number right there. All right, there it is. Yeah, I mean, they could just go to 40,
Yeah.
but I think they're going to go to 50.
I think my hope is that they do 44.
You know, LL Bean, right? I'm probably going to have big LL Bean thing again.
Yeah.
And
But the thing is like, so what? They did $302,000 last year. If you just bump payout at like winner payout up by 15, then that takes you up to 330, I mean, and I don't know. I feel like they would spread it out a little more.
they might. Will they get to 400K total?
This year?
Yeah.
No. I'll so help me though. If you set the line at 349,999.
We'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Pro Tour finances are a little crunched right now. So all that the money has to come from somewhere.
That's true.
And if you keep it in your pocket, right? If you only go up a little bit and then you keep more in your pocket, that would make a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at the season overall. Calvin Heimberg, Kristen Tatar are your points champions. There was the faintest hope that they might not win, but they did. I don't think we talked about this stat last week. I wanted to mention it. If you just count Calvin's dropped points, because of all the tournaments that he had to drop, because you only get to keep 8 Pro Tours or whatever, if you add up all of his dropped points and you made it its own person, the Calvin clone, Calvin 2, it would make the Tour Championship.
Wow. That's incredible.
So that it's like Calvin was artificially close to not winning the points contest because of how many awesome finishes he had to drop.
Right.
So congratulations
That's
to
an
those
impressive stat.
folks. I wanted to how about let's talk about some first-time Pro Tour winners. Not counting the majors. We're just talking Pro Tour right now. We can look at the whole season at the end of the year. First-time Pro Tour winners. We had 7 first-time winners this season. Can you guess some of them, Josh?
Well, Parker Welk,
Yes.
Cole Redallen,
Yep.
Matty O.
Uh-huh. There's 2 more MPO and 2 FPO.
Okay. Own.
Yes.
Emerson Keith.
That's right. Emerson Keith.
That's it. That's all.
I'll
I
give
can't
you a
remember
hint.
The other two.
The
Okay.
MPO winner had won a major before this year.
Oh my gosh.
You don't have to look back too far.
I can't believe Gannon Burr makes this list. That feels so weird.
And the FPO player,
What
very
tournament did they win?
emotional
Okay.
showing when she won. It was just a couple months ago. screamed when she won.
I don't know.
From the South.
Cat Merch.
Cat Merch.
That was not a couple months ago. That was April.
That was a couple months ago.
That's the beginning of the season. That was the last time Calvin won.
Okay, hang on a second.
Hold, hang on a second. What?
Wait, was it really? It was Jonesboro. You're right.
Yeah, that's 5 months ago, man.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
You're like a couple months ago, and I'm like, I got no idea.
That's like when I played 20 questions with my wife, and I asked, is it a mammal? And she said yes. And then the answer to, I didn't get it. And the answer was that it was dinosaur. And I was like, Liz. It's like 10 years ago. I still give her grief about this.
It was April.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's the list. Gannon Burr, Cole Redall, Matty O, Emerson Keith, Parker Welk, Owen Scoggins, and Cap Merch. Here are your top 10s from the season. Calvin, of course. Isaac Robinson finishes 4 points in front of Gannon Burr. And let's see. Gannon finished 8 spots ahead of Isaac, but just wasn't quite enough. I think if literally if Gannon finished 1 place higher, he takes second overall. Crazy. So it's Calvin, Isaac Gannon, Ricky Wysocki, Eagle McMahon, Matty O, who moved up 5 spots this weekend, Simon Lizotte, who moved up 3 spots this weekend, Kyle Klein, Anthony Barella, and Cole Redall. By the way, Anthony Barella finished second to last at MVP. What? That is crazy.
That just blows my mind.
To be fair, it's a much better than usual field.
Sure.
But still. And then on the FPO side, Josh, your top 10, Kristen Tatar, Missy Gannon, Owen Scoggins. Holland Handley gets past Ella Hansen on the final weekend of the regular/playoff season. Cat Merch, Haley King, Katrina Allen, Sarah Hokum, and Macy Vela-Diaz. I'm surprised Macy Vela-Diaz is 10th. I guess I don't know who I would have thought would have been there, but I guess I didn't expect it to be Macy. She had a lot of top 10 finishes the last couple weeks. So, who are the biggest surprises for you inside the top 10?
Besides Macy Vela-Diaz, I think Sarah Hokum was really actually my biggest surprise. And it's just she 5th place PCS, 5th place European Open, 3rd place Ledgestone, 6th place Idlewild, 8th place D-Glow. Like, Sarah Hokum has been doing this for a long time, and she still is awesome.
Yeah. It used to be when the field was less deep and she was a little bit better. It was, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and occasional wins.
Yeah.
And now it's like 5th, 6th, 7th, and occasional like 20ths.
I was expecting more of a drop off. I'll be honest. I really was this season. I thought Sarah was going to kind of drop off, and she has not, and that is impressive to me. And so I was really impressed by Sarah Hokum at 9th. The other thing that's a surprise, I don't know what happened to Katrina Allen these past couple months, but she went to Ledgestone and has not been the same since.
Yeah, really shocking, honestly.
Yeah, I cannot believe she took 8th.
24th, 33rd, 28th, 24th, and 30th. 30th was, there were 36 players in the field at MVP.
And she took 30th.
30th. It truly makes no sense. I mean, she's just completely lost confidence in the throw. It's got to be very frustrating.
Oh, I'm sure. But I think that's the other big surprise.
It's surprising she's not in the top 5. You know?
It's exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. Surprising that she's not higher up than where she is. Those to me are, I think, are the biggest FPO surprises. I mean, Holland and Ella, for as much as they get knocked for not playing golf, they really are some of the most consistent players on tour.
So talented.
They play a lot. They are talented, and they get good finishes.
Yep.
Don't pick them to win.
And then meanwhile, you've got players who I think are similar in some ways in Henna and Evelina, who are 20th and 25th respectively. And that's because they just don't play enough.
Yep.
Yep.
They would be top 10s.
Some surprises outside of the, top side of the tour. I wonder where Valerie Mondahano would have finished if she played a full season. She was 30th. I think it's fair to say she would have been comfortably inside the top 10 and maybe even inside the top 5.
She missed. When did she start playing? So she started playing at.
Her first tournament was DDO. So
that's not quite half the season. I think 800 to 900 points. That puts her somewhere between the 9th and 5th range, 9th and 6th range, pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
And an extra win, and that I think really does challenge her for top 5. So
she had a lot of top 10s, a couple clunkers, but yeah. And then, of course, Valerie Mondahano will be in the Tour Championship because she won Idlewild. So, other surprises not to be up near the top. Well, obviously Paige Pierce, but of course, out with the injury. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure there's many other big shots.
Really,
to be
there
honest.
really isn't. Shout out to Allie Smith.
Yeah, 12th.
In 12th.
Yeah.
Beating out the likes of Maria Oliva, Jennifer Allen, Holly Finley, Lisa Faka, Stacey Ronsley. I mean, there are some good players there that she beat out to get into 12th. So keep an eye on Allie Smith next year for sure.
My biggest surprise in the top 10 in MPO. Do I even have one? I think the surprises are more the absences than the ones who are in. I was high on Anthony Barella all season.
Yep,
and he's in 9th. I'm not surprised. I guess Cole Radallen would be the answer, but he certainly showed us glimpses that he could be this guy.
I say that it also feels a little bit like recency bias to say, oh yeah, it's no surprise that Cole Radallen's in there.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Right, you go before Ledgestone.
I don't think I would have picked him at the beginning of the season to be in the top 10.
Wouldn't have either.
But, the rest of these guys, yeah. Isaac Gannon, Ricky Eagle, Matty O, Simon Lizotte, yeah. Kyle Klein, maybe borderline. Because, let's look at the guys who aren't in.
But Kyle Klein's got to win.
I know.
That's the thing.
And he's been top 10 in the past. But here's guys who I think are surprising. Dickerson, 15th. Kevin Jones, 17th.
Yep.
Adam Hammis, 18th. James Conrad, 20th. Obviously, Macbeth.
Yeah.
Corey Ellis, Joel Freeman. These are guys who were awesome last year. Mm-hmm. Joel Freeman, what happened to him? Wasn't he 7th last year? He's 24th.
We were picking him regularly for podiums last season, especially near the end. Besides
that, I think that's probably the list of
so too.
Big surprises. I mean, you have some European players, but they don't play enough, so I don't really expect them to be up near the top. But yeah, I mean, some of the names that we've gotten accustomed to seeing at the top all the time just weren't there this year. Chris Dickerson, I think, is for sure the biggest surprise for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has really just not had it. I wonder what's going on with that.
Well, that's also combined with a lot of not playing. He doesn't play West Coast. Well, I guess it's not as much as previous years.
Let's take a look here.
Just West Coast swing. Misses OTB. Misses Portland. Those are the two big ones. Obviously didn't play, well, not obviously, but he also didn't play PCS. So he misses those 3 Elite Series, but that's fine. It's still within realm of drops.
Genuinely, Chris's level of performance is very similar to a year ago.
Really?
Yes. He was 42-68 in Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation this year. This is on the tour, on the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Last year he was 43-67. Last year putting 85-24. This year putting 87-26. The difference? People are getting better.
People are getting better, and he didn't win a major.
People are getting better.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Last season, we probably would have said the same thing.
Buoy you, but
yeah. So Champions got buoyed him last season, and that wouldn't have, that obviously.
But statistically, he's not dramatically different in any category than he was a year ago. I just think that the level of play is rising around him.
Well, let me give you something interesting here. Two things that are interesting. Number one, when you look at the top 10, only 2 guys didn't win this season, and that's Eagle McMahon and Anthony Barella.
Mm-hmm.
The other 8 top 10 players have a win on the season of some kind.
I mean,
right? Isaac is in the majors.
It's a lot of point bonus to win.
It is. So the winning is important. The second thing, though, and this is another interesting stat, if you just look at DGPT winners, again, not including majors, we have 11 MPO DGPT winners, and remember, 5 of them are first-time winners. And if you include the majors, then that number goes to 12 and 6.
Right.
Because Isaac Robinson and Corey Ellis had not won previously. So half of your winners are first-time winners to tour.
Crazy. It's been a crazy season.
Yeah.
We still got a little bit left.
Yeah.
U.S. Women starts this weekend. Then we head down to the USDGC and throw pink. And then we've got the Pro Tour Championship to close it out. Okay, so let's take a look at our purse watch from MVP. Fat Stacks. $120,000 purse with $80,000 added cash. Keep in mind, right, this is one of the smallest fields of the year, if not straight up the smallest. And they still got to 120, which is higher than anything besides the majors, I think, and Ledgestone.
And Ledgestone.
World's 275, European 101, so that's actually under it. Champions Cup 140, and Ledgestone 139. $18,000 to Matty O, $13,000 to Haley King, up about 16% from last year.
It's a nice bump.
Very nice.
Very nice bump.
Impressive. We saw a similar increase at D-Glow as a playoff event.
Yeah.
If we see a 15% bump to match those from the Pro Tour Championship, the purse will be $347,000. So $350 is not a bad guess, Josh.
Yeah.
Nice payday, by the way, for Matty O, $18K. Of course, his biggest of his career. At his first NT event, he won $255 back in 2003 for finishing, I think, 5th. We wrote it down, I think.
I think we forgot to write down the place. I think it was 10th.
Okay. Well, anyway. Times have changed. Whole 18 review. Whole 18 review. MVP Open, the classic green up against the clubhouse, tight in the little woods, kind of the keyhole there. It's a pretty memorable hole 18, Josh. Where do you want to come down with your scores?
I'm going to give it a 7.
On both sides?
Here's why. Yeah, both sides.
Okay.
Both sides. I actually think the problem with the hole that doesn't give it higher is the same on both sides. The first one to me is that this hole is ideal spectating for a certain few number of people. Sitting up on the balcony, overlooking the hole, or if you're right on the rock wall, you have the best view of any hole 18. And everybody else just kind of has to do their best, right? And that's, to me, not what a hole 18 should be. I should be able to bring a lawn chair and sit down on hole 18 and see everything and enjoy hole 18 and the drama that comes with it. And so, to me, and that's just a course limitation, right? Welcome to woods, welcome to the property and the parking, the whole 9 yards. But that to me is one knock against it. And then the second part is I don't think the tee shot is all that interesting. I understand the technicality of it and why it is a technical shot in terms of playing for the risk reward, but there are other hole 18s that I think have better tee shots that really encapsulate that same principle. We just saw it at Worlds with Fox Run. That is another risk reward. How far do you want to push it to the left in order to have a look for the next one? That I find just so much more captivating than I do.
What could they do? Because I basically agree with that take. I just don't love the tee shot. The second shot is awesome.
It is awesome.
But the tee shot is just okay. And they're gonna hit a gap, and if you fade out too early, you're gonna go OB. But I just don't love it. It almost feels like it would play better as a par 3, where you're trying to drive the green. But I don't know. I don't think that's what I would recommend. I just feel like they maybe need to do something to make that shot more interesting. Because it just feels like it's never gets me excited for the tee shot. I'm only excited for the second shot.
It's too bad because I wish hole 1 could also be hole 18. Like hole 18 is truly just a not quite as good hole 1. The second shot is
because
pretty similar.
Because the green is similar. Yeah.
It's tucked back. Like it wants to have you throw the first shot where it challenges in terms of like what the risk reward is, except the difference is that on hole 1, the first shot is incredible. And on hole 18, it's lackluster.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Over under it was 5%. Did I make it 5 or 6?
It was 6%. I think it was 5.5%.
5.5%. On birdie percentage on hole 9 for MPO for the weekend. Josh, would it come in at?
It came in at 3%.
3%.
And it's unfortunate because honestly, round 3 and 4 had 10% and 4% respectively. But it was the only one birdie on the day in round 1 and round 2 that really killed me. Honestly, a 10 and 4 though for the second half that's fine with me. I think that's an appropriate.
Do you like the hole?
I do like the hole actually. Brian said it on the final round. Players are figuring it out, and it's going to take some time. But he said himself that at the beginning of the tournament or before the tournament started, he heard nothing but complaints about the hole, and now players have an appreciation for it and like it a little bit better.
Well, here's the thing I like about it. It demands a really good shot to get a birdie.
Yes.
And like the
really
players expect to be able to just get a birdie all the time. I'm like, guy, you don't deserve a birdie on every hole. Imagine if the FPO acted that way. I mean, people lose their minds over a hole that's hard to birdie. When then FPO, they have sub 5% birdie holes literally every tournament.
And multiple usually.
I think it's hard. Maybe you want to take out 1 or 2 trees just to make the shot a little bit. But the birdies were special in a way that is not the case. You know what it feels like? It's a better this is maybe a hot take. It's a better version. You know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
Of the Northwood Blacks par 5. Is it the 12th?
Hole 12, yeah.
It's a better version. It's a more interesting hole. It's not as just grindy. You have to hit a really tough uphill shot far to a landing zone, and then you have to make a 6-second shot onto an island green. That is awesome. Yeah. Hole 12 is just like you have to throw it so far forever, and it's just far, 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 far. You take a 6, and you're like, well, that's pretty good, actually.
I don't quite agree.
More slander for Ledgestone. What do you think? But it's a better version of that hole.
I think that's why I like this hole so much, though. Is it does have those similar elements. I really like this hole, and I wouldn't change it. Like you said, maybe 1 or 2 trees. I don't want people to throw good shots down the fairway that last second tap something and they're done, right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. The woods feel fair at MVP. It's not like horrible.
They
rough.
typically do. I think the problem was that there was 1 or 2 kicks that I saw where they looked like excellent shots and took a bad kick. And while the woods are typically fair, that bad kick took them completely out of position for even par almost.
Yep.
So a little bit of tweaks, but otherwise, I liked it. I like the change. Keep it.
Really quick picks rundown. Josh and I both had Kristen Tatar and Owen Scoggins on our podium. We get 2 points there. We had Missy Gannon. She did not finish top 3, and neither of us had Haley King. On the MPO side, Josh goes whiff, kind of like Kristen's putt on 17. And I get Eagle McMahon in my 3 spot, so I get a point there. But Simon and Isaac Robinson, it looked for a time like Simon was going to have a chance to win this thing. I was feeling pretty good through 3 rounds, but just didn't show up final day. But Isaac, not a good pick. This is not his course.
It's not his course.
It's not his course. Don't know why. Seems like it should be.
It's so true.
That is going to do it for today's edition of The Upshot. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back with you either tomorrow afternoon or Thursday morning, bright and early. with our preview for the U.S. Women's Championship. Everybody go check out the there's a YouTube video with a course flyover, and I know I'm going to be studying up, getting ready for the weekend. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Thursday or tomorrow right here on the Upshot.